It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back, you beautiful souls. Thank you so much for tuning in. You're live with Expresso. You know what that gorgeous little giggle means. Time for a little baby talk. And a new baby, we know this, I know this from my experience, can be very expensive with such a wide variety of toys on the market, and how susceptible we are as new parents to want to buy these toys or be pressured into doing it. It's easy to feel that pressure to buy what you think are the best products on the market because your child deserves it. How does a parent ultimately choose? Well, on today's Baby Talk, occupational therapist Meg Faure will help us figure out what to consider as our little one's imagination emerges, because that's why we play. We play to learn and we play to ignite the imagination. So Meg, thank you so much for joining us. What ultimately does a baby need toys?
Yeah, no, they do need toys because one thing we know about human beings' brain is that when babies are born, there's lots of neurons in the brain, but no connections between them. So that first kind of 3 years of life is a time of making huge connections, and that happens through experiences. So the more wide and varied babies' experiences are, the more those connections will form. And part of creating those connections is having toys, because toys create opportunities for learning. So toys are important, but they're not the be-all and end-all, because what we do know about the human brain is that those connections happen more in the context of a relationship than with something material. So the relationship and the play that happens with a parent is actually more important than the toys themselves.
Moral of the story, you must play with the toys as well, with your child.
Absolutely.
Have a little bit of fun. So what developmental goals should those toys then cover? What are the milestones that we're looking at to foster in that toy selection?
Yeah. So I suppose you could say that there are four main areas of development. One is gross motor, those kind of big body movements that takes your baby from lying on the floor through to being a running, jumping, skipping toddler. Then there's the fine motor skills, which is just being able to control your fingers and being able to eventually write. Then there's your cognitive skills, which has to do with learning, language, concepts, color concepts, that sort of thing. And then there are the emotional skills. So those are which is connecting with another human being. So those are the four areas, and a good selection of toys, and it's important we don't have too many, but a good selection of toys should cover each of those different bases: gross motor, fine motor, cognitive, and then emotional.
And you, like you say, you don't need a lot. It's not like, you know, you can, if people have bought you for presents, you've given me the advice before, just pack them in the cupboard and then rotate them. And it's like a new toy every week. When we look at the critical phase of development in that first 6 months, what toys would you recommend?
So a couple of things other than the emotional engagement with another human being, which is definitely paramount at that age. Most important. But a couple of things that are happening. First of all, babies need to learn to focus properly. So visual skills are important. So an example of a nice toy for that would be putting a baby under a mobile. So most of us do have little mobiles. And I love those really cheap ones, that kind of wire frame that you can just hang and dangle things from nature or little danglies on, because that's wonderful for visual control.
Making those.
You don't have to spend a lot of money on that. Another good one for little ones of that age are things like rattles and things they can hold, because one of the other skills your 0 to 6 month old is working on is fine motor skills. Grabbing and then eventually hopefully letting go as well, because they have to learn that. And then they're also working on auditory and language skills, and so things like music are very important. So you can just play music in the background. So those are kind of the three categories. And then the final one for that 0 to 6 month old stage is they need a lot of tummy time. So a really nice activity mat on the floor, or even like a little mirror that they can that kind of motivates them to lie on their tummy and look into the mirror to raise their head. That would be important for that age group.
So now we move from raising our head and putting ourselves up to actually sitting and getting a nice firm little back. For the sitting baby, what are some great toy ideas?
So most babies are sitting at about 6 months of age. It's actually quite a funny milestone, because it almost happens exactly for all babies within a month of itself. You know, so at about 6 months they start to sit. You'll need some cushions behind them, pop them on the floor. Please do not use things like those little seats, the bamboo seats where they're actually held. That's very bad for their muscles. So get them on the floor sitting. And then the type of toys are things like switch toys, like a toy that you can push a button and there's a cause and effect. When I push that button, it makes that noise, or it pops out, yes. Cool. So cause and effect would be wonderful. Books are amazing for your 6 month old when they're sitting, because you can sit on the floor with them and actually read books to them, and they love to look at the pictures.
Constant stimulation.
Absolutely. Fabulous for language development. So yeah, those are a couple of toys for them.
Wonderful. We're going to move into our household items in just a moment, things that they can play with that will continue to stimulate to help them achieve those critical milestones, and hopefully we're getting you second guessing that pressure that you feel that you've got to have every one of the best market-leading toys out there. You'll be surprised what you can get away with that might just be in your household. We'll continue with Baby Talk in just a moment.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. You're live with Expresso. Thank you so much to Rudy Smith and his incredible dance crew for their dance performance. But now we turn back to Baby Talk, and we are talking about toys, about meeting some of those very important milestones, but also igniting the imagination within our child, and maybe steering away from that pressure that all new parents especially feel, that you've got to give the best and that you've got to spend the most to give the best. And Meg is with us, who is a genius in these spaces because she thinks about it from the parent's perspective as well, which I love. So let's kind of really reduce things down here and not spend any money. What can I grab maybe from the kitchen? What household items make good toys? My mother used to bring home boxes all the time. For me, it was the best thing ever.
No,
but for baby's development, what can we use around the house?
So the very best toy in the whole world is what you've just mentioned, and that's a box.
Oh.
So if you ever get a tumble dryer, or, I mean, even if you, just any size box, that's the biggest thing. And what happens with a box is a box can be anything. Today it's a car. Tomorrow it's just used to put things in and take things out. The next day it's a tunnel. And so really boxes are the number one toy that you can have, and it's cheap as anything. I mean, you can go and buy a box from a storage company, and that would be the best toy you could buy for your baby. It'll cost you way less than any other toy. So that's the number one
That's
for
cool.
sure. No, it's definitely the number one toy. And particularly going into the toddler years as well. Other than that, household items are really fabulous. So things like pots and pans can encourage musicality. They can also teach concepts of in and out and does it fit? That's a spatial concept. So definitely pots and pans. Jugs and water. Every toddler, I mean, you must say that your little one must love it.
Fascinating.
Yeah. Fascinated by jugs and water. So just a jug, a bucket of water, watch your little one, don't leave him alone with water, and then just pouring, or even in the bath, just pouring. That's fabulous for fine motor control, really important. And then lovely little activities you can do, like take an old kind of herb bottle and with all the little holes in the top, and some dry spaghetti, and let your little one post the dry spaghetti into the top of the herb bottle. Incredible for fine motor control. So you can see how all these things in the home are actually better than any toy that you can buy really in the shop.
Yeah, and before all toy manufacturers are like, oh my word, you're destroying our industry. I mean, there is a place for toys, and it's really cool, and you can treat your child with something special. Just don't go overboard and don't feel that pressure. Once Baba becomes mobile, the kind of game changes quite considerably, and I think there you've got to often level up. So what are the best toys for that phase of development from toddler kind of onwards?
So again, looking at our 4 areas, gross motor, I would definitely be having balls, because toddlers love balls, they love kicking them. It's good for fine motor control. It's also good for gross motor control, for eye-hand coordination.
For future income.
Future sport, exactly, your pro golfer. So that would be important. Things like swings and outdoor equipment, that I would spend money on. So having a little swing set or a little trampoline in the garden,
Something
that's
that can
expensive,
last,
but it'll last through all your children, and that's a very good investment. And then, of course, things like books, again, come out, CDs come out. So those type of things are good things. But again, with that age, it's things like crayons and Play-Doh and those type of fine motor activities as well. So.
Yeah, a blackboard and some chalk is a toy that reinvents itself every single day.
And, you know, you don't even need a blackboard. Just get some chalk, let them draw on the floor, on the driveway, or in the road. Obviously not in the road with cars, but somewhere where they're safe.
Yeah.
Or even on the wall outside in the backyard, because you can spray it down afterwards. So chalk is absolutely amazing for this age.
I'll add to that, because for me, the biggest joy of my life is reading to my little one. The best toy ever is allowing them to play with their mind, allowing their imagination to ignite. So read, get on it as early as you can to develop that. Meg, this has got me all excited about going home and finding cool things I can play with. We can play with together. But please, as a new parent especially, don't feel the pressure to go out and spend huge amounts of money. It's all about making sure that they're getting the right kind of developmental milestones within that play, and the most important part of all of it is the play itself, with you as the parent.